check. And I'll wait for a few minutes. Okay. Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness, it's been 100 years, I feel like, since I've done a live on LinkedIn, but I'm so excited to have Melissa here today. And we have a few different areas of topics that we want to share with all of you, from why you shouldn't stop marketing, email marketing, and a few other items. But before we dig in, maybe Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself, your business, and who you are?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
You know,
So happy to be here.
so everyone knows
um,
the context. We've planned this like 6 times now.
yeah, February,
Yeah,
I think.
we're here. We did it.
Yeah, we finally made it. And I think it's such a good topic that we have today. So I'm Melissa Esmeralda. I am a copywriter, funnel optimization strategist, and founder of MEO Marketing Group. I specialize in sales pages, website copy, landing pages, and full service email marketing. So it does include all the back end tech stuff that business owners really don't look forward to doing. So I'm more than happy to take that off their plate. I love diving really hard into research, interviewing like my clients, past clients, and like looking at like data and all that stuff, but also writing the copy too. So that's the main thing I do.
Amazing. Love it. And it's needed, because sometimes even myself as a business owner, like we sometimes we hit the ground running, and sometimes we forget about the email marketing pieces, and or we're just so busy to do those items. It's nice to have like somebody else to jump in to take lead a little bit more on those, for sure. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Brittany Ashley, and I'm the founder of a company called Creative Dynamic Virtual Services. We offer virtual services from a range of items, really, from administration, marketing, support, system setups, and our newest item is business audits. So myself and Adriana like to do business audit from the full business scale, from operations to the marketing side of things, and give you kind of like a plan on how to like really implement within yourself if you want to do yourself, or we can implement on our end. So if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to the site, and we would be happy to connect with anyone who needs help with business audits. But I'm also a certified business coach, imposter syndrome coach, and all the things in between, I like to say. Many hats. Yes, yeah. Let's dig in though. Like these little conversations, if you're just listening now for the first time to the real conversations in business, I try to keep these pretty short and sweet, 15 to 20 minutes. But if we see these are very successful, then we can kind of keep going and make them bigger and get Melissa to come on back. But yeah, Melissa, let's dig in on about why right now everyone is saying we're in a recession, or about to be in a recession, and all the things above. I think really since COVID, I think it's definitely been, and during COVID, was always interesting times for a lot of business owners, no matter at what scale, of navigating change. And I think we're just navigating change yet again in, I would say, interesting times yet again for all of us. And so the one thing that I always see that a lot of people like to do is pause marketing as a whole. So I think you and I should kind of dive in just a little bit on why we shouldn't really pause marketing as a whole. From there, so what are some intakes do you have to share with some individuals listening?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I completely understand why people would naturally want to pull away from the marketing if they feel like maybe profits aren't as high as they normally are, or like the economy doesn't feel stable. And initially, I think most people would think, okay, this is probably what I'm spending a lot of money on, so let me back off a little bit. But
Yes.
the reason I don't recommend that is because marketing is something like, it's not just one thing. It can be a lot of different things. It can be your email marketing, it can be your social media posts, your ad strategy, your website. And if that stuff isn't updated, like if your website's outdated, then it's going to be harder to convert people, because maybe like your prices have been updated, for example, but it shows something older on your website because you stopped working with a copywriter or with a web developer to implement those things. So you don't want those sales to stop. And I think the natural inclination is to think, okay, well, I can just do more networking, really tap into the people that I know, and like word of mouth, all that stuff, which yes, you can do. But if you're already considering cutting costs in marketing and maybe in certain positions, whether you're a solopreneur or you do have a team of people, that means there's going to be more on everybody's plate. So it's going to be a lot harder to have those extra conversations and do all those extra things because those were taken care of by your marketing essentially. And I know I just wrote about this and I was researching about this a lot for a project that I'm working on about how humans are naturally inclined to be hesitant to change. We naturally resist it, even if the outcome is something that we really, really want. And the reason for that is loss aversion. And in loss aversion, we can see that we can have like an example scenario of like, you know, that you're going to win $50, you're guaranteed no matter what, or you can place a bet and possibly win $100. $100 is twice as much, but most people, they won't do it just because they think, oh, well, losing $100 rather than definitely gaining $50, the gain doesn't feel equal, even though it's actually greater. And I think that's what's happening a lot with people trying to cut costs in marketing. There's this very natural fear of thinking like, oh, well, I'm probably not going to be making as many sales, might as well cut back and try other methods. But if you take a look at what is working, that's usually a great way to like really tap into, rather than try to take away everything completely.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, like, we can definitely leverage quieter times. Perhaps we're doing extra A/B testing or extra different strategies in the mix between the quieter times just to see different segments and everything like that. So I think there's positive ways that we can just definitely leverage on these levels. And then sometimes, yes, okay, sure, we're wanting to be mindful of how much money we're putting into marketing, but doesn't mean that we need to fully stop. So perhaps you do have, so I'll just use an example. We're kind of coming in as a one-time project right now and creating kind of more or less like a full strategy planning from email marketing to social media templates for the client so they can utilize these as a resource as they're just trying to quiet down the marketing resources, but they're still able to tap into it and do it themselves. So there's different mechanisms and different ways that people can definitely utilize support like yourself to still make the moved as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just because it is a quarter time doesn't mean that you shouldn't be having conversations with people. And like you said, like you can still experiment a little bit or just really go all in something that is working fairly well. But because things might not feel as economically stable right now, that's even more of a reason to talk to past clients, past customers, people who already participated in your offer, people who maybe didn't, but because they had objections, maybe their objections are a little bit different now because you never want to guess what people are going through or what their objections are. You want to make sure you have all that information. That's why it's so important to do all that research in the beginning before you start making any changes. Because if you do happen to be the only person working on your marketing or have to make some cuts to your team, that's a lot for one individual. And there's no sense in changing a bunch of things if you don't know for sure that this is a new objection that people are having now, for example.
Yes, yeah. And just to kind of tie it all in too, like it's being consistent too and staying top of mind when everybody else is kind of taking a step back. And we're just kind of rolling into the summer too. So it doesn't even have to do with even the definition of recession right now. I find even in the summer times, a lot of people are like, well, in different areas, really, I thought like different depending where you are. But here in Canada, we tend to be like, oh, it's like July, August, time to take a little downtime here. But I've found some individuals in certain parts of the states who are like, let's go, let's get things done. So it's funny to see like the different kind of changes overs in the different kind of countries. But really, no matter where you are in the fall season or whichever, try to map out some kind of strategy that fits into you. Maybe not necessarily completely stopping it, but you're still present. You're still maybe doing some kind of collaboration like this that can be like a short 15 kind of conversation that you're still still top of mind and right in the forefront of your clients, consumers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when you're a solopreneur, you fall into the thinking of, well, I have to be everywhere all at once, or I have to constantly be doing everything, which isn't necessarily the case, but like we all understand that pressure. And
Yeah.
it's okay if you're not showing up on Instagram or LinkedIn or a social media platform every single day, but you're still checking in sometime or sending an email to your list once a week or a couple of times a month. That's better than nothing, because exactly what you were saying, you're still top of mind. And not everything has to be a sales email either. I guess people get tripped up about that all the time. The emails that perform really well tend to be really casual or just like really random. Like the best performing email I've ever sent to my list was because my dog almost blew up our apartment because he turned the gas knob on, trying to get some banana bread. So you never know what's going to get people to reply.
Exactly. And like being very authentic within those email marketing strategies. Maybe we can kind of touch on like what is a strong email marketing strategy, because I feel like when we chat with individuals, they definitely put email marketing on the back burner. Like they've done a lot of other pieces in their business, but email marketing was one that they thought about but never triggered. But then like we had one individual that wanted to hire us just for social media, and I was like, time out. You told me about email marketing and you're able to convert X, Y, and Z over here. Why are we not tapping better into marketing versus throwing your money into social media right now? Like social media is great, don't get me wrong, but you have your connections right here that is converting. We can receive those return on investment. So aren't we building this out a little bit better, and then kind of like throw things out to social media and see what sticks over here too? But yeah, what do you think is like a strong email marketing strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that you brought that up to your client, because like I think that happens quite a bit. You think, oh, well, I need to do this thing, but then have a conversation with a professional like you, and you tell them, well, actually, this is doing really well. Let's dig into this a little bit more, because it's so tempting to like try to do it all. And I think people are sometimes a little bit intimidated or overwhelmed by email marketing, because I personally don't love how it's portrayed sometimes as like the money's in your list, which is true, and I think that saying that is fine, but like making it sound like it's overnight or like it's fairly quick, or like you can build this, like scale your business that way, which you theoretically can, but like there's so many things you have to do in place beforehand to set yourself to set yourself up that way. And I think if you're a solopreneur, well, any type of business, but like particularly if you're by yourself, having just a really simple email funnel that just has like a landing page, whether it's a newsletter or to a lead magnet that ties into your core offer, having a simple welcome sequence and be able to gather data about the people coming in, like with a segmentation email, for example. Like you don't have to have a super complicated welcome email sequence that when somebody clicks an option, like if they're fit into category 1, 2, or 3, that will trigger a new email sequence. You can, but there's no need to in the beginning if you don't know what data you have left. It's still helpful to collect that stuff, because if you want to adjust your offers or anything like that, it's really helpful to know what kind of people are coming in so you can create better offers for them.
Exactly. And a brand's always evolving. So if you're just starting, like this is what I wish, this is like practice what you preach. I would have done this, because now I've been doing this for 6.5 years. It's just bananas. But I wish I would have started my email list from day one. But I was super hyper focused more or less on building the website, starting social media, which is great. But you like the social media piece too, like on Instagram, like you don't own it. If it goes down, if you also meta goes down, it's just kind of like, what do you do?
Yeah.
So having a strong email marketing, like even like you're saying, like we don't have to go crazy. Even just starting somewhere. Like I was just saying to somebody, I was just in a networking group, and I was like, just starting somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start. And even if you just gather the emails at the beginning and they opted in, great. And then we can like start building everything else around it as we start to see your brand evolve, you evolve, maybe your servicing offerings evolve as well. That's good and okay, and we can build that around it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that a lot too, and I think it's because, again, like we see so many like ultra successful multi-millionaire business owners who are talking about these like fairly complicated funnels, but they have teams of people doing that for them. Like they definitely didn't start that way, and it's completely okay to have, say, just like a 2-3 piece welcome email sequence and then eventually add to it. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and like you'll be so much happier that you did a little bit of a quote unquote messy action now rather than putting it off for another 6 months, because like your funnel does not have to be complicated at all. You can grow it at any time, but it's also probably better to start with something that's a little bit more simple so you can gather that data, see where people are coming from, what kind of problems that they're having that you could possibly help them with, and create this monster funnel and then realize nothing's working.
Exactly. So like I went to a speaking event a few weeks ago and I was like, oh, I have to prepare the presentation. I have to do this, all the like I was just feeling like already like at my maximum. And so when I had to do that, I'm like, well, I have to do an email marketing. And I was like, I have to do all the funnels. I'm like, no, you know what? All I'm going to do is get them to scan the QR code, download the docs, and then just like a thank you email for coming. That's all they're going to get. And so that's, I think sometimes, like you're saying, like we do overcomplicate things. And so I think we as business owners need to sometimes take a step back and reflect of what the end goal is. For me was just to get on stage and get a more awareness too of what I was doing than setting out foot of building a full email list right there.
Yeah, and it feels good to be able to get something out there. And like and we all do that. Like I think imposter syndrome evolves, and like it's different for someone when you're brand new, and it's different going to be different 5 years later. And things that you find difficult now you probably won't find difficult in a few months, but the first few times you do something is definitely going to feel a little bit weird. Like even if no matter the size of your list, like the first time you start selling something, you're like, oh, is this weird, is this too much? But your business, at the end of the day, businesses sell things, so it shouldn't feel as weird as it does, but it's a very, very common feeling to have.
Yeah, exactly. I've talking a bit more on imposter syndrome, like reflecting on why that's coming up is very important, because when you're wanting to tap more into the email list and you're having like second thoughts of tapping into it, it's good to kind of workshop those. So if anyone's having thoughts of like, oh, I can't go sell because I feel like selling is icky, or whichever you want to use the word is, write down those thoughts and emotions and try to work back from them as well. Yeah, I love the topic imposter syndrome. We can be here all day if we really wanted to. We'll dig into it more.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is so interesting.
Yes, yeah. Maybe we can just talk a little bit more on segmentation and how that can be important for those who are interested in just starting the email marketing pieces too.
Yeah, such a good point. And ESPs, or email service providers, those different platforms like Klaviyo, MailChimp, etc., they all technically do the same thing, but they do them a little bit differently. Sometimes I'll talk about tagging and segmentation, like they're interchangeable. They're technically a little bit different because tags are static. So you can have a group of, say, people who have purchased this offer. And a segment is more fluid, so it's going to change. So, like, it can be a segment of people who have purchased in the last 30 days. So today it can be 1,000 people. Tomorrow it can be 1,500, for example. But you can gather information. I highly encourage people to have some sort of segmentation email. If you're a solopreneur, a lot of times this looks something along the lines of just asking them where they are in their business or what their goals are, and they'll have usually just 3 options, maybe 4 or a third or 3 options, and encouraging a reply with the goal that they're going to click one of the options. So usually you want them to click the option that describes them or their business or their goals the best, and that tags your system that this person clicked on this thing. So now you have the data. This person is a newer business owner, so they'd be better fit for, say, like an entry point offer. This person's fairly established, so they might be better for like your one-on-one services, for example. And it's pretty easy to set up. It doesn't have to trigger. It can trigger a new email sequence if you want, but you do not have to start that way. But it's so helpful having that data as much as possible, because then you can see like, oh, okay, well, I thought I was attracting this type of online service provider, but I'm attracting more of this type of person, for example. So that can really help with a lot of different things, like not just your offers, but maybe like how you talk to your audience as well.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Love it. I know some people get kind of caught up on not just segments, but what email marketing system to use. And I feel like there's so many out there. I personally love MailerLite. Is there ones that you can recommend that you like?
Yeah, I really love Kit. Well, a lot of it is because it's made for online service providers, so it's
Mhm.
very easy. I think it's pretty intuitive, but they have great customer service, and like I love how easy it is to tag things and have the visual automations. If you have physical products that you sell, in the Shopify website, Klaviyo is usually your best bet, just because it integrates really well
Yeah,
with Shopify and it has some like really advanced analytics that you
they
probably
do.
wouldn't have with other things.
Yeah, I've seen it in its glory. It's quite amazing.
A
Um,
little bit of a learning curve, but it's really good.
yeah, it's I would say that one's a steep learning curve for anyone who's not really into tech, but if you
Mhm.
can get somebody to jump in and just elevate it, like it's very magical.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we're already at 20 minutes. Maybe is there any last minute thoughts you want to share with everyone who's listening?
I think just in general, if you feel that you have nothing to say, then first of all, know that's normal. Everybody feels that way, but just start thinking about anything relatable that happened to you like in the last like week or so, and that can make a really good story. And that can be an email to your list, or you can repurpose that as a
Mhm.
LinkedIn post or an Instagram post. So don't overthink it so much. Just go ahead and write something and put it out in the world, and you never know what kind of connection you're going to make.
100%. I just put the QR code for anyone just watching to connect with Melissa. And then I'll just chime in too after that. I would just say more or less, because I feel like we are in a state of chaos right now. And sometimes we get the sense of where we are. It's okay to take a break, take a pause, and reflect and get up and walk around. And also to be mindful of that Rome wasn't built in a day, a business wasn't built in a day.
Mhm.
It's great to see all these amazing posts that are going out, but you never know what's happening behind the scenes. So just get curious, ask questions, and be kind to everyone. So please connect with me as well. And if you're looking for a business audit, would love to help and sit down and do all things operations and everything else in between. Thank you, Melissa, so much for coming on today. We'll do another one because I know there was a
Yeah.
few topics that you and I chatted about, but I thought this one was
Mhm.
really